Hi friends, welcome to Composting Lessons hosted by farmer Jack McAndrew here at the Malibu Fig Ranch Sterling Farms. There are a couple weeks of lessons on this video, so hopefully you'll start to pick up a pattern here, but please watch the other videos because there are other important steps not included. This particular blend of compost is of the highest nutritive quality and the ingredients are elegantly simple. Alternating layers of organic alfalfa and manure, each moistened to the consistency of a damp sponge and spritzed with a compost starter. After working for a couple of hours, we typically have about a dozen layers, and at this point we mix up the ingredients in a process we call the flip. This moment is an opportunity to double check, make sure that the moisture is consistent, and add a little more of that biodynamic compost starter. We started a second pile at the farm, this one a little further from the neighbors and where the RV campers are located. On this day I forgot to bring the toilet brush we used to spritz the compost starter, so we used rosemary sprigs instead, the herb of memory.
You tell us about this layer, Jack, would you?
This is the layer of garbage. After about 2 or 3 layers of the alfalfa and the manure and the starter and the moisture, you can put a layer, maybe every 2 or 3 or 4 layers of garbage. Now what's in the garbage? All the fantastic minerals and enzymes that this food took from the soil is going right back into the pile.
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, as usual, we mixed the pile with the flip, and this served as the beginning of a new windrow. Every morning when we arrive to make compost, we go through a similar checklist. For me, it's put on the sunblock and hat, but then we unload bales of alfalfa that we brought, open up the irrigation lines, and mix up the compost starter. When this compost is made properly, it heats up to about 130 degrees, about 3 days after it's made, and then slowly starts to decline in temperature. Among the things we do to ensure that both the alfalfa and manure are evenly moistened to the consistency of a damp sponge is that we turn the material as we wet it, and we walk around the pile as we add that moisture. One of the beautiful things about our compost is that it's made entirely by volunteers. And today we had Anthony, Ryan, and Hannah helping, but there was also a new family at the farm. Amy and Nick and their 2 beautiful children and dog had arrived on a large converted school bus with the intention of helping out the farm as well as documenting biodynamics and biodynamic compost making. Jack is always dropping gold nuggets of wisdom, and here he lays a few on Nick.
First cutting the most leaves for feed, most valuable feed. Second cutting, second most valuable feed. Third cutting,
How long was it?
there's a carbon to nitrogen ratio of 15 to 20 to 1.
So I just decomposed.
15 alfalfa carbon to 1 manure by volume. So this woman calls up and she orders a ton of compost. I didn't know who she was, so I delivered it. This is a woman that lives in Point Doom over here, around the corner.
Yeah.
So I ring the doorbell and she says, "Go to the servant's entrance." I said, "Yeah, I'm a servant." So this old woman comes out with a dirty old hat on, a dirty old torn sweater, dirty hands. She looked like she was like your grandmother. So she doesn't even come up to me and say hello. She goes to the compost and picks it up in her hands and sticks it in her face.
What?
Huh?
She sticks it in her face?
She sticks it in her face and she says, "Oh, black gold." She turned around And she says, "Hi, my name is Barbara Streisand." That's my story.
That's a great story, Jack. Thank you.
I've always felt that the term garbage was derogatory for this layer of spoiled fruits and vegetables. And a couple of weeks later, Jack so beautifully articulated how it spiritually moves him when we add this layer to the pile. At this stage, we always take a pause to admire the Jackson Pollock of fruits and vegetables. As our day of making compost draws to a close, we do the flip, mixing the pile, double checking that the moisture is just right, and adding compost starter and water where needed. Our end of day rituals include putting away the tools, shutting off the irrigation lines, but also closing that precious manure pile. The rich organic dairy cow manure in our pile is surrounded by soil to prevent flies and hold in that aroma. A little bit later in this video, I'll share why it's alfalfa for carbon and organic dairy cow manure for the nitrogen. But Jack rightfully describes this process as holy work. And when you do holy work, those with whom you practice make all the difference. The practice of making compost should be a meditation. Those with whom you are working are your Sangha, and in this case, Jack is our guru. A brief discussion of energy is in order here as well. Of course, the compost will provide energy for plants to grow strong and healthy. And most people recognize that these ingredients provide that energy into the compost. But there's something more subtle and profound happening here. And it's that we, making the compost, impart our emotional energy into this product as well. That first compost pile we made, starting in early July, well, it was time to move it to its final resting spot. Once a pile is properly made, it can sit static for 9 months. Think about a baby's gestational period. This long curing period gives the pile a chance to absorb enzymes, bacteria, and fungi from Mother Earth, as well as her energies, and those of the moon and the stars and the sun. But a compost goes through that breakdown process more evenly under the ambient temperatures of shade. And so that's why this spot under the eucalyptus trees was more ideal for curing. Yes, a pile may break down in just 3 months, but the analogy I like to give people is like scotch. You can drink 12-year and it looks like 18-year, but they taste quite different. As I laid down the new pile, I was conscious of the dimensions we wanted to achieve. 9 feet wide, 5 feet high, and 15 feet long for that 10-ton critical mass pile dimensions. That afternoon on the tractor was a meditation unto itself, and I eagerly look forward to adding the preps to this pile.
Thank you. We'll fill it up about halfway maybe. Doesn't it look good enough to drink?
I'll hold the bucket. Perfect, Jack. Perfect. Do it all over. Do it all over. That's a boy. Perfect. That's good.
There are a lot of reasons we use organic dairy cow manure as the source of nitrogen for this biodynamic compost. Imagine for a moment a mother cow sitting in a green pasture, peacefully chewing her cud, her ruminant stomach breaking down all of that material in a way that is extremely bioavailable for plants. Her manure rich in nutrients, enzymes, and bacteria.
There you go. Do you want some? Take some. You want pear?
Did y'all get that picture I sent of the octopus?
Nick had busted out a drone camera and was going to do some aerial filming of us making compost today. We've been making this compost for about 2 months. We have that 10-ton pile that was moved under the shade of the eucalyptus trees, and this pile is now about 15 tons.
Back it up as you do it. Flipping at the end. That way you guys basically put it all on the top.
There are many choices for carbon, but Jack likes to use organic alfalfa for a variety of reasons. When you think about the different kind of hay that's available to feed animals, alfalfa is the richest. And one of the reasons it's so chock full of minerals and nutrients is because its root system travels down 25 or more feet. There's another critical step in making biodynamic compost that isn't included in this video. It's called adding the preparations, and they're homeopathic quantities of herbs. So please keep an eye out for my next video so you can see that step. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't introduce you to the queen of the castle, the lady of the manor, Kerry Clasby, the intuitive forager herself. She buys some of the finest organic fruits and vegetables from small family farms here in Southern California. And she sells that produce to some of the finest restaurants in town. So all those layers of beautiful vegetables and fruits that we put onto this compost pile, that Jackson Pollock layer, well, that's the spoilage from Kerry's intuitive forager food distribution business. And on this day, Jack spoke beautifully about what that layer means.
When you see all of that food material go onto the pile.
Yeah, and what's in it from, and the people that grew the seeds, and the farmer or the person that bought the seeds and grew that produce and harvested and tried to sell it.
Fear and hatred.
That's one of the biggest sadnesses about farming.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you see,
And isolated us.
sorry to jump this to the next level, almost the universe in what is going on that compost pile, because you've talked about all the intentions and actions of the seed grower and the farmer, and the nourishment that each of those vegetables brings up, and the labor that is picking all of that, and the people who buy it and don't sell it, and the suffering associated with the labor and the not selling, financial and physical, and it's all there in.
That's mind-boggling. What you just said is mind-boggling.
Well, that's what I'm just paraphrasing what I think you said, and that's what you see going onto that pile with that one dump of quote-unquote garbage, which brings you to a spiritual place because you see it for what it is, everything.
How are you? Good, how you doing?
As another great day of compost making winds down, Clinton has the honor of doing the flip. We go through our end of the day checklist, gathering up tools, cleaning down the tractor, and shutting off irrigation lines. If you've liked what you've seen today, please follow, like, or repost, and be sure to stay tuned for the preps and more.